The BigDaddy Football family, welcome. Igama lami mfethu seniyangazi uSimanga Makhubu. And today I just want to introduce a new show onto the channel, and let's talk football with BigDaddy. And this is going to be the first episode of a football talk show. Ngizolokhu ngibiza nje ama-guest here and there, abanye bazohlala for long. And today I've got none other than SC. Uthi akafuni ngibiza igama lakhe lonke because I'm gonna butcher it. Umtshita isihlangane naye la on the Twitter Spaces mfethu, and yeah, he talks football. Welcome Skoko Sam in the BigDaddy Football Corner.
Thank you for having me, my friend. Thank you for having me. It's long overdue.
Yeah, mfethu kumele kwenzeke. Mfethu, let's break the ice. We just saw my under 17 qualifying, even though they lost the match 2-0. What's your take about the 3 games played? I think it's 1 win, 1 draw, 1 loss. What's your take around what you saw and also South Africa qualifying? Qualifying, and it's mind you, we're qualifying for the World Cup as well, according to the quarterfinals.
Yeah,
what's your take around everything else that happened with under 17?
Yeah, look, I think Vela Kumal is doing quite a great job, and we need to applaud him first for that. And let's remember again that we're talking about under 17s here. We're not talking about senior teams. And what they've done, especially in the first game against Egypt, you look at that alone, it tells you a lot in terms of the work that has been done into these boys. We talk about their development teams, and we're talking about almost 16 teams plus, and we're talking about academies as well. So when you look at the work that has been done by Vela, again, as I said earlier on, it's something out of this world, and quite interesting to see such players. Abu Vetboy, I think he stands out. We all know that Vetboy, it's just a pure talent, Yeah, and the interesting thing about today's match, just moving away from the other two, the whole entire lineup, not lineup per se, but the back four, it was entirely changed. So when you look
100%.
It tells you it's a coach that says, I want to take risks and I'm willing to bench any player that's not giving me what I want. And it sends a stern message to the young boys to say, this is where football is. And this is where we see the breaking between a player that's playing senior football and development football. And the psychology starts there.
I hear you. I want us to move. There's a lot I can talk about under 17 because I also got to watch all the 3 games, and I also got what I feel about it. But yeah, let's move because I want us to build up to the Sundowns Orlando Pirates matches that are coming up in the quarterfinals. But firstly, there is a statement that came for Orlando Pirates, and all it said was the last dance. Which confirmed already an open secret that everybody knew that this man is actually gonna go. But in fact, how does Orlando Pirates move away from losing a coach such as Jose that is in the heart of every Orlando Pirates supporter, except a certain few? And how does Orlando Pirates move into then getting another coach? Also, to me, figure the project from scratch. Wanting new players and then complaining about players both, complaining about using players from academy. Because Jose never complained about injuries or playing players from development. But what's your reaction and how does Orlando Pirates move from here?
Yeah, look, also again, we need to give Jose his flowers. I remember when he first landed into the country, we used to call him a plumber. And that was only said due to his naked CV, if one can use that kind of a word to use, And slowly but surely, the man who was quiet became a pirate, definitely, in the literal sense of the word, a pirate. And his work has been commendable, and you look at what he's done in terms of the shifts that have been happening into a Pirates team. We're talking in terms of a technical team, losing probably his analysts, losing some of his technical people that were there, and being able to reshuffle. They brought in the guy from Stellenbosch who has settled into the team, who's working with high performance, and he's working with analytics with the team. You look at that alone in terms of the work that they've been doing in the background. It then filters back into the match psychology and the match temperament of the guys to say, I've had players that have changed. I've had players that were controversially so left, that have controversially so left the team. You look at that again and how he's always been calm. And I love that thing about Jose. He's got this calmness that assures you that he's not a fluke, you know. And look at how he changes his games from the first game that we saw to date. It tells you that this is a coach that says, my head is on my shoulders. I understand what is it that I'm doing. And for a fact that he's a coach that has broken records for Pirates, that speaks volumes alone. You know, it speaks volumes alone. It tells you it's a coach that says, I didn't come here just to add numbers. I didn't come here to be a stat. I came here to be counted amongst Pirates legends. I came here to be counted amongst coaches that have been there and that have left the mark. And he's done that even through his own players. For instance, you look at a player like Makhula, and we look at what Makhula has achieved in the middle of the park with the team. You look at a guy like Mbata, you know, you look at those kind of players and what Jose has been able to do with those players in terms of reinforcing the team and bringing them into the team. It speaks volumes for me, and I look at that and I say, Pirates here are going to have a tough time replacing this guy. But then again, it shouldn't be a tough time because now with transitions, you need to be ready to have transitions in place. And for me, and I look at the assistants and say, and I remember asking you questions to say to myself alone, and I said, is Mandla Negazi going to be the perfect guy to take over a Pirates team? I don't think so, to be honest with you. There is a guy on the bench that's working with Jose right now, and we look at him and we say, question marks also. Is he ready to take over? Let's not mince our words here, guys. We're talking about a Pirates team. We're talking about just an ordinary team.
100%.
You look at what...
No, I'm with you. No, I'm with you. Also, there's another guy that Jose brought. I think the guy is sitting there. Twice a physical trainer. I've got suspicions of why the guy was brought, but we will wait and see what's going on. Then we're coming into Sundowns, in fact. Looking at Miguel Cardoso. When you sit and look at how Sundowns are playing, he seems to be the guy that has been there. That has been needed all along at Sundowns. He seems like he's now the missing puzzle that you guys have been looking for, especially in the CAF Champions League. But I just want your own view, Nje, quickly and jump onto it in terms of Guti. What is it exactly that makes Sundowns look like a team that is difficult to beat at Cardoso?
Look, I think we need not be naive in terms of that statement. The reason I say we need not be naive, remember now, he's at a phase where Sundowns have been struggling to go through into. I start there in terms of the CAF Champions League space, you know.
Sure.
Why I say we should not be naive is that he comes in and he hasn't passed the stages yet. Let's not forget that. Let's not be quick to say he has brought in stability in terms of that space, because the league alone, Sundowns has been running it, and we can't talk about it that much. We talk about the CAF Champions League, and initially that's where your question is at. And for me, and I look at that first game that he played, in these spaces that he finds himself in the last 8, Sundowns has been playing in that space. And the most important thing, he has beaten a team that has been giving Sundowns such a tough time. I'll take you back to a post-press conference that he did, the very first one. And I always like referencing that because it then tells you how far this guy was ahead in terms of viewing and looking at Sundowns. And this is when I say we're talking the inevitable. When I say talking the inevitable, I'm talking about somebody that says, this is my dream, this is where I want to be. This guy mentions that he's been in and out in the press conference. He mentions that, guys, I've been looking at Sundowns in the preseason. I've been watching Sundowns, and he's been invited into the Sundowns space in terms of the preseason. Let's not forget that one of his, I don't want to use the name, but one of his close people are at Sundowns, and they've been there for quite some time in the development spaces.
Interesting.
In the development spaces. He's been viewing Sundowns from a preseason perspective, and I asked myself a question when he says, I've been looking at the Sundowns preseason camp that they had outside the country. And I looked at that and I said, clearly this guy was aware that he's going to be brought in. And for me, that was not a red flag, but a green flag to say, Mangoba, who had replaced Rulani, was in trouble, because now if the coach already was saying that, it was clearly sending a message to say Sundowns had already been looking at Cardoso, and it was just a matter of the technicalities being completed. And finally that has been done, moving away from that. And he comes into a Sundowns team and he says again, I have been looking to be in a team that has such quality. I have been looking to coach a team that has such players. And he references the players by name. Ronan Mullens comes out and says, This guy in training calls us by our names. And we were all shocked, like, how does this guy know us? That is what I call somebody who's prepared and who's ready to take the next step. And you look at what he's done with the Sundowns team. The psychology for him was
100%.
the psychological aspect for it. And people will hear me talking about the psychology because I always believe that we need to take care of that in terms of football, because when coaches are changed and when coaches leave, that affects the players a lot. So Cardoso is one guy that masters being in a player's mind. Look at the press conference that he did after the match against Esperance here in South Africa. He references that. He talks about the moments in the game. That tells you he understands the talent he has, but the psychology is the most challenging thing that a coach needs to overcome. So those two things, when you link them with him being the tactical astute coach that he is, I think Esperance is in trouble.
I hear you. We will get into that because I would want your prediction on this one, and I'm going to hold you on to it. Now, let us look at Orlando Pirates a little bit. First leg, they're in Algeria against all odds, sold out stadium. What an atmosphere. You know, the players walked in when they were just there for just pitch inspection. Already it was packed and full. I'm like, what an atmosphere. These guys are actually. But Orlando Pirates came out from such a situation. They did the same CR Presotat. They did the same in Egypt. You know, they look like a club that is saying, hey, I'm going there in this thing. Because when these things keeps on lining up, it kind of shows you what this thing is going a certain direction. But what I want to get to is what would be your advice to Orlando Pirates coming to the second leg, having watched the first leg? What is it that they need to avoid, and what is it that they need to do to ensure that one goal, they use it to their advantage and they go through into the semis?
No, this is simple. Score first. Score first.
Yeah.
That dictates your game. I love what Pirates does into their games, especially when they've been traveling. And let's remember one thing: Pirates hasn't lost in this CAF Champions League, and they've traveled three.
The only team.
They've went into the north and they've dominated the north, in my opinion. And the one thing that I want to say, what I love about Pirates is that the mind games. Pirates doesn't forget their mind games, and that plays into a lot of teams' mind games. And this is important. And I've said this about an Al-Ahly. I'm sorry to bring in an Al-Ahly, but why I bring in an Al-Ahly? Sure. We normally talk about pedigree. And the Pirates technical team has managed to put the team into the pedigree state of mind. The pedigree state of mind is a team that has played so many cup games and won cup games. Look at Sundowns again. How many cup finals have they faced Pirates in? And they've lost those games. Now, Pirates has mastered that. And one thing about Jose and the greatness of Jose is that knockout games, you can't touch him when it comes to knockout games. And I was one of those people that said, I don't think Pirates is going to go the distance. And the reason I was saying that was because we had seen a Pirates last season not being able to go the distance. Because now when you look at the Pirates in the league in terms of the marathon, it has been a challenge. But they've overcome that in such a quick transition. And this is what I love about Jose, and why I say it's going to be quite a challenge for Pirates to probably replace him. Because now when you have a coach that's able to transition with every change of every turn of every season and be able to take the team a bit step higher, that speaks something different in terms of the kind of coach you have. But going back into the game, as I said, Pirates need to go first. The people in South Africa are going to be there. They're going to support Pirates. I don't care who says what in terms of clubism or somebody that supports a different team. But at the end of the day, the South African thing, when we are facing the North, I think we need to come together and band together and work together as one unit. And I think Goskotini, we all know what Pirates does, Goskotini.
And we've got a special project there, so I hope they don't come out there. But in your just the Pirates one, do you still go back into that back three or back five centre back for the second leg?
Look, I don't think Jose is going to change that, and he's playing at home. That's the best scenario you can ask for as a coach. You know, when a team is coming at you and they need to win, they are playing literally in your hands. And we need to understand one thing: Pirates has a lot of ball players, and the minute you decide that you want to go pounce at them or play in their final third, you're going to have issues with that. And look at the game they played in MC in Algeria. They decided that we'll give you probably about 60% of the ball possession to you. We'll keep the 39% that you're giving us. And they were able to use the 39% to the max. Now you're coming into their own playground. do not anticipate that they're going to give you the same thing. They're going to take that ball position back and they're going to run at you. Those wing plays, with inverting, you've got something else that's coming at you. And I think Nkota might just start this one.
That'll be very interesting. Now let's go to today's Sundowns. In fact, Sundowns won the first leg in South Africa, right? But if I look at the head-to-head, going back to 2017, Sundowns against Esperance. Esperance has won 3 of those games, draw 1. Sundowns have only won this one, which is 1, which means before that game, Sundowns was never beaten with Esperance. Yeah. Now you are going to their home ground. What do you think is going to happen? And in your own view, what does Sundowns need to do to come out of that one and go into the semis? Because if we are the final, FNB. We want it final. We don't want it in any other stadium. I hear FNB so that the entire South Africa goes there. But how does Santos ensure they go through?
Look, I think the two sides are going to swap in terms of position. They're going to swap it around. Sundowns was dominating in the area. Of course, Esperance need to score. That's the most important thing. Now, the most important thing that Sundowns also need to do is that they do not need to concede as early as possible. They can concede, I'll tell you that much. Why I say they can concede. Obviously, Esperance has the firepower. You look at players such as Yusuf Bilai, a dangerous player on the left foot. He pins you and he goes right at you. Sundowns has their work cut out. And they're going to come into this game. Sundowns likes dominating possession. They need to relinquish that and walk away from that and accept that, guys, we don't need to have possession to win this game. Do exactly what Pirates did. Let's be honest, guys. You're going into the North. It has been a challenge for you to win games, especially that space in Morocco. It has been a tough time. No, excuse me. They're playing Esperance, right? Which is Tunisia.
Yeah.
So Tunisia for them has been a challenge. And again, for me, when you mention those stats, there's a stat that's not been included in that, but because we're talking of the CAF Champions League, the AFL is not being mentioned in that. And I remember when Rulani spoke and he said it's written in the stars. Why he was saying it's written in the stars? These were teams that Sundowns had faced previously, and they all beat Sundowns. And Sundowns were coming up against Sundowns were coming against Pedro. Sundowns were coming against Esperance. And he said this is something that these guys need to get over. The fact that you have managed to even beat the psychological battles here at home, you managed to win that game. That tells you enough that you can go there and win the game. Sundowns has been in that space before. Again, I reference the AFL. Bring that type of play, bring that type of mentality into the fold. With Cardoso at the helm, Sundowns, I don't see them struggling. Remember that Cardoso knows this team. He has been in this team. He understands Morocco. He understands Tunisia again, rather. And he comes into this setup, and I don't think the players need anything else besides listening to what the coach is going to give them.
I hear you. Predictions, my brother, in closing. Sundowns, Esperance, Tuesday. It's happening in Tunisia. What's your prediction on that game?
I think this is going to be a 2-1 win for Sundowns.
Away. That's going to be nice. Orlando Pirates, MC Alger, Escotini.
MC Alger has goals in it, no doubt. But I'll give them 1 goal in Escotini, and Pirates I'll give them 3.
That's a big one. Mfethu, thank you so much for this episode, Skoko. I really appreciate it. Mfethu, please subscribe to the channel and listen, comment. If there's anything that you feel ukuthi awuzwanga kahle, ngena kuma comments sibambe khona mfethu. But Danko Skoko sam.